Do the iCarly thing again.
And 5, 4, 3, 2. Oh my god, the metronome is always going off. Alright. Welcome back, guys, to episode 4.
Episode 4.
Of Grief Uncensored. I'm Yako.
And I'm Julia.
And today we're going to be talking about how to actually support a grieving person. Just a little disclaimer to start off. This episode's probably going to be really long just because we have a lot to say about this topic.
Yeah, a lot. We really hope that if you're a griever listening, you'll relate to a lot of things we're going to say. But also, we hope that you'll send this to your friend, and maybe that can help them kind of navigate how to help you as the griever in this situation. Because it's really hard to be that person, and we definitely acknowledge that. But I will say, if you're the friend right now listening, which is who we're kind of going to be directly talking to right now in this episode, you have to be willing to have an awkward-ass conversation, or at least a difficult conversation, or a dark conversation. Right. It's not going to be, oh, how are you? Oh, I'm doing good. No, if you ask me how I'm doing, and you're not ready for the real stuff,
then don't ask.
Yeah. It's if you're not willing to get real, it's really not the job for you, because otherwise you're just going to be asking these surface level questions, and the griever is not going to actually feel safe enough to open up to you.
Right.
Just listening to this podcast right now, I think you're on a good track. You're on a good track to being a good sport person. And I think also you can't expect things from the griever, which people are really good at, I think. They're like, oh, I'm texting you, and then they end it with, oh, don't feel pressure to respond. I think that's a good thing. But yeah, you can't expect things from the griever. You can't expect a long answer. You can't expect them to get back to you, or just overall, expectations lowered. But yeah, I really hope you, as the support person, can be someone that you can rely on, that we can rely on. Because advocating for yourself is so hard as a griever, and it's awkward, and sometimes you don't even know what you want. We're going to talk about that. Like, you know, we just don't even know. We're so blinded and muggy in our brain where we're like, I don't even know. And you don't even have energy to even put forth to explain what you need or what you want.
Exactly. And then also, we just want to say another disclaimer. We really understand that a lot of these phrases and behaviors that we're going to talk about today really come from genuine good intentions, and that's not what we're trying to come for. We understand that, and we're just trying to put our opinion behind it, just because as grievers, sometimes some of these common phrases and sayings and behaviors just end up hurting the person because it's really not as helpful as you think it is, or it just doesn't really come across the same way. And yeah, so we know that your intentions are good and that you're coming from a good place saying all these things, but we just want to help everybody have a better experience, including grievers, non-grievers, in order to have the most helpful situation for both of us. And yeah, we know you don't intend on invalidating our feelings, our pain, or any of that, but sometimes that's just what happens.
Yeah. And a lot of times, intention is not enough.
Exactly.
You know, you can intend not to hurt someone's feelings, but if you did, you did. And, you know, that was the outcome of what you did or what you said. And go ahead.
Oh, yeah. So I was going to say, and also we understand that also everybody is different. Everybody says that everyone grieves differently.
Totally.
So we know that every situation is different, every person. So this might not apply to all grievers.
Totally.
But this is just what we think. So we just wanted to put that subjective opinion
definitely
in there.
So there's a lot of common phrases that people use when you're talking to a griever. And that's what we're going to start with. There's a lot of things that are so common that it's used all around the world. And it's like, everyone who grieves has somebody who has said this to them, but a lot of times they don't work. They're not working, and
they don't do enough.
And like you just said, they unintentionally are hurtful,
right? And
that's what we're trying to change.
Or
so if
just
you
very surface level,
right? If you have said these things to a griever, do not fret, okay? it's okay, and you're definitely not alone.
Yeah.
But we do want to help change the narrative around
Exactly.
talking to a griever. So let's start with the phrases.
Yeah, so the first one is, how are you? This is just a very vague general question, and it might not seem like a bad thing to ask. It might seem like a really obvious thing to ask, but also when that grief or when that loss is so fresh, the answer is just, how are we supposed to answer that question?
How are you is so... It seems like, of course I'm going to ask them how they're doing, you know?
Yeah.
Like, but you know the answer before you even ask that question.
Yeah, exactly.
And then as the receiver, somebody asks how you are. I think when people asked me how I'm doing for the first 6 months to a year, I had absolutely no response other than I'm suffering and I'm just getting by. Mm-hmm. So it's not that you shouldn't ask how they're doing, mm-hmm. but just keep in mind that when you say, oh, how are you? In the back of everyone's head, you know the answer to that. Right. And they know the answer to that.
Exactly. And then also for how are you, like the expected answers are all usually just, I'm fine, I'm okay, like not bad. Just like really short phrases that you respond to how are you with. And then anything other than that, it just kind of makes people uncomfortable. They're like, oh, really? Yeah. I wasn't expecting you to like actually tell me how you are.
Totally. So, exactly. Yeah. So, again, these awkward conversations, are you willing to have them, or are you going to remain surface level? It's really up to you.
Exactly.
All right, next common phrase, I can't imagine what you're going through. I can't even imagine what you must be feeling.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we can, and we have to, so I know that is kind of just like putting light into how difficult that must be, and you're acknowledging how difficult that must feel for that person, but it's like, yeah.
That's my reality right now. I can't imagine.
Like, yeah, I know it's difficult, you know?
Yeah, and also I saw this thing once that was saying when somebody says, oh, I can't even imagine what that must be like, and then they responded, actually, you can. Just close your eyes and imagine yourself in my shoes and exactly what you know just happened to me. Yeah. You can imagine, and it's a horrible thing to imagine, but it is a little invalidating in the sense that they are trying to separate themselves from what you're going through instead of trying to empathize with what you're going through. Because if they say, oh, I can't imagine, it puts a level of like separation between you and their understanding of what you're going through, you know? And true, as that person, you just want to feel understood.
Yeah.
So, yeah. All right. Haha.
The next one is kind of, they are in a better place, or God must have needed them in heaven. That translates to they're better off dead, or they're better off not here. I just want to point out, though, disclaimer, like, obviously it's different just because my dad passed from cancer. So if someone tells me they're in a better place, I understand that means like at least he's not suffering anymore. So that might be a little bit more comforting for people who had to pre-grieve and like deal with like an illness or something like that. There's no better place than here right now.
That's a good example of how it could be different for some people.
Yeah.
But even overall, like maybe they are not suffering anymore, but they still shouldn't have died. This should have never happened in the first place.
Yeah.
You know? But yeah, a lot of times they're in a better place translates to, okay, so they're in a better place if they're not here, so they're better off not here, so they're better off dead? Yeah. Is that what you're saying to me? And it's so hurtful. You can't even, like, fathom saying that to somebody like I just said it. But when you hear, oh, they're in a better place, it sounds familiar because you've heard it before.
Right.
But it's very counterproductive. I think I needed my mom here on Earth more than God needed another angel. Mm-hmm. That's my hot take.
It's a good take. I agree.
You know, I think whatever God you believe in, whatever religion you practice, I don't think, you know, this God needed to kill off my mom. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's just not comforting. Also, if you don't believe in heaven, then, like, what is the better place? You know what I mean? Like, it's not...
Totally.
A lot of people always allude to, like, this afterlife of, like, heaven. And if you don't believe in that, then it's not comforting at all. It's really not.
Yeah. Next one is anything that starts with at least. These could be, honestly, some of the worst ones.
Yeah, like, at least you had that much time with them, or at least he was a good dad while he was here, or at least... I don't know.
Oh, at least they're with God now. At least you can have another kid. At least you still have time to get remarried. At least you got to say goodbye. At least they passed quickly. And of course, at least they're no longer suffering. It could be, for some people, comforting. It could be, what are you talking about? They should have never passed in the first place.
Yeah, I think it's a little backhanded. It's like bittersweet. Yeah, it's just not.
It's like you can't just say, oh, your person died, but at least. Like, why would you say but at least? No, it just ends there.
Yeah.
And you could be sad. Like, it's dark, so we're gonna be dark.
Exactly.
The at least statements really get me, because I'm like, at least what? At least what?
It's just, they're just trying to, that goes hand in hand with focus on the positive, stay grateful. But the reality of grief is both positive and negative. To acknowledge both is the only way that you can fully heal. Like, just telling someone, like, oh, try to focus only on the positive is, one, adding so much pressure for them to, like, be this positive, uplifting, like, motivational person. But the reality is that grief is both, and you just have to feel both.
Yeah, totally. And you can't say, oh, focus on the positive when this person's mind is only thinking about how horrible the situation is. You know, like, I think in movies, there's always a silver lining to something. And of course, death is a worldwide human thing. So a lot of movies and TV shows, a lot of their themes are death and when somebody dies. And almost always they have to have a silver lining in that movie or TV show.
Oh my God, yeah, that's great that you mentioned
newsflash, in real life, there is not one.
Yeah, like, it's always like the protagonist's mom died and now they're like about to save the world, like, you know?
And it's okay to have positive aspects come from things you learned in your grief. That's normal and healthy, because you grow as a person and you learn and you reflect, and that's normal. But to say that you need to focus on the positive and not think about how bad the situation is so invalidating. Next one. You have to make them proud now. They would want you to be happy.
Like, we know that. We obviously know they would want us to be happy and that we want to make them proud. But the thing is, I'm depressed and I'm sad, and I have to just focus on being sad right now in order to be that person that can make them proud. Like,
totally.
You know, it's just not going to happen, like, overnight. You can't just... You know, you can't just wake up and be like, oh, I'm going to make them proud.
I'm going to choose to be happy today and not be sad that my mom died. Like, that's impossible, everyone. And also puts a lot of pressure. This is another statement that puts so much pressure on the griever. To not be sad or to not look sad.
And then also, it makes them, like, gaslight themselves and be like, oh my God, I'm sitting here soaking, like... You can sit and sulk, you know?
If you want to sulk for I don't even care how long, you have the right to do it.
Yeah.
There shouldn't be any type of pressure on what you should or shouldn't do at all. Period.
I agree, yeah. And it just adds on this pressure of carrying on and pretending to be normal and going back to, like, your old self, and just... Yeah. It's just not...
Carrying on and being normal, a.k.a., oh, don't look like you're sad or don't seem like you're doing not well. But, like, isn't that normal when somebody dies? Isn't that supposed to be, like, if I die and nobody's sad or nobody's acting sad, what the fuck? Of course be sad.
Yeah. I think it's,
Like, it's just, I don't know. The more I think about it, it's like, yeah, of course I'm going to be sad. What the heck? Why would I feel bad about being sad? Or why would anyone tell me to, like, not be sad? Like, I think somebody actually said, quote, don't be sad.
Yeah,
I'm like,
literally someone said that to me, too. And it's like, I don't want to be sad. I really don't, you know, but sometimes I just am. Like, I just miss my dad. Like, I'm just fucking sad, and that's just...
If I could pull myself out of it, I could. And trust me, I try. But it's not doable all the time.
All right, the next one is take care of so-and-so, or take care of each other. Often said to, like, the remaining family that's still alive after someone passes. And it's like... That also adds to another level of pressure, and I'm just like, I'm trying to take care of me. Like, if I can't even take care of myself, how am I supposed to take care of, like, my whole family?
Yeah.
And, like, of course I'm going to look out for my sister or for my mom. Like, of course I'm going to look out for them. But that is not, their grieving is not my responsibility. And of course, that sounds kind of harsh, but that's just how it is.
But either way, you are helping each other nonetheless. It's going to be in your own way, depending on your family dynamic.
Yeah.
But to say, oh, take care of your mom now. Like, it's like, oh God, now I have to be the strong one and push my emotions down and help everyone else. But it's like, no, it's an overall, everyone's helping each other, you know?
Yeah, exactly. It's just counterproductive because it does add a lot of pressure to that person. And we get that the intention is like, oh, like, you know, that person's gone now, you have to look out for each other. We're going to do that, you know? It's just, you don't have to say it because that's just already going to happen.
Absolutely.
Oh, and the last one.
Yeah, don't hesitate to reach out. If you need anything, let me know.
We just think that instead of saying that, you should be the one not hesitating to reach out. Like, don't tell us, don't hesitate to reach out. How about you just
don't hesitate to reach out to me.
Yeah.
I think people say that and they're offering the hand, they're extending the hand, which is a good thing,
really
and it's a
nice,
good thought.
yeah.
But it has to be more than that.
Right.
It has to be more than that because we are not ready to start delegating tasks to people.
Yeah. And how are we going to be like, oh, yeah, like, we really need some help right now? Like, obviously we do. I don't know.
Yeah. There's so many things that you could do depending on how close you are with them. And you honestly just have to take the reins and do it and say, there is going to be food at your doorstep at this time. Open the door at this time. You don't even have to see me. You don't have to talk to me.
Yeah.
There's
so many things
million
like
things
that.
you could do.
Yeah.
But saying something vague like that, don't hesitate to reach out.
It's just, you know that offer is just going to fall short and it's not going to lead to anything. So if you want to do something rather than just offer a hand at the superficial surface level, then just do it rather than saying don't hesitate to ask me to do it.
Yeah.
And then also, we just want to say one more time that we know that a lot of these people or a lot of these things come from good places, and of course everybody's different. Some of these things might offer some comfort for people, but a lot of the times it just falls short of what we need, and that's just what we're trying to address so that everybody can benefit. Grievers, non-grievers alike.
Definitely. Okay, now moving away from the common phrases that people use, we're going to go directly into what not to say and what not to do. Things to just steer clear of. And it's going to be helpful to know these things because basically process of elimination, right? If I don't do these things, then I only have these other things that we'll talk about left over to actually help.
Right.
So do not do nothing.
Yes.
Do not do nothing. If you do nothing and say nothing, it is obvious that you are trying to avoid it, especially in person. If you're like avoiding talking about it or saying it, it's obvious that you're doing that, and it's actually more hurtful that you're avoiding it.
Yeah.
There's no greater gift than opening the doors to someone and allowing them the safe space to talk about their person. Because when you absolutely close off from it and don't mention it because you don't want to bring it up, it's not helpful at all.
Yeah, and then we just feel awkward or uncomfortable bringing it up. And I can say from experience, like, when you hang out with someone for the first time after that loss and they don't bring it up, it's on your mind the whole time. You're just waiting for the moment to bring them up.
Yes, right?
Yeah, so just bringing them up, you know? I think that people are always assuming that it's triggering or assuming it's too late to give condolences, or you just think it's too hard for us to hear, but it means a lot. It really does. And we want to be reminded of them. We do. We want to be reminded that you care about that person too. And that's all that it shows if you bring them up. Not that you're throwing dirt in my face about some
rubbing it in.
Yeah, you're not doing that at all. So don't feel like you can't bring it up because it might be hurtful for me to hear. No, I want you to talk about my dad, or she wants you to talk about our, we want to talk about our parents. We just do. And
you have to acknowledge it. Bottom line, you have to acknowledge it. Not acknowledging it is so hurtful because it's just like, oh, elephant in the room. Not gonna bring that up.
And we already know that it's
like, trust me, we see the elephant. That shit follows me everywhere, and you should probably talk about the elephant too.
Yeah, just be like, hey, like.
It's never too late for condolences, guys. I've heard people say, oh, I only heard a week after and I felt like it was too late and I didn't want to bring up old stuff.
1 week after is really not that late, though.
Of course.
You know?
But in some people's minds, it may seem like they don't want to bring it up. And I'm telling you guys right now, it's never too late.
Too late.
If you're thinking about reaching out, you really should.
Yeah, and if you haven't reached out to someone who you really wish to give condolences to, just do it. It's really more of a really nice gesture that you can do that means that you're thinking of them rather than it coming across the way you think it's going to, which is bringing up past pain. It's still our current pain.
It is going to be always the pain.
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially when I've had people like text me their condolences, and then when they see me in person, there's no condolences. I think texting is great, but then when you see them in person, you should bring it up again for sure.
I agree, yeah. I know that just saying that, though, it is hard for people to talk about grief, and that's why this whole podcast exists.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
But it's as easy as just being like, so, like how has it been? Like, what? Or just be like, you see them in person? Oh, so, like, how's your, like, state of mind today?
How's your family? Asking.
Like, anything.
Yeah.
Because that alludes to it. Not like, oh, so how are you doing with your mom dead? Like, no. Of course not. You're not going to bring it up like that. It's literally as simple as giving them that look, and you know what they're referring to, and you'd be like, you know, are you okay? Like, what's been going on? Mm-hmm. And that opens the door to all the things that this person is comfortable sharing with you.
Yeah, exactly. And if you're a good friend, then you would be open to hearing them, and no matter how uncomfortable and how raw and deep and...
Mm-hmm. And if you're not like a close friend that like wants to have some type of like conversation like that, in one of Megan Devine's, I think maybe in her Instagram or something, she said like, you see this person, let's say you run into them in the grocery store and you know that their person died. Some people like turn away, like run away. Oh my God, like this is so awkward. I don't want to face this. Mm-hmm. But then that's more hurtful because again, they're ignoring the problem basically. Not the problem, the situation.
Right.
Instead, Megan Devine just says, you don't even have to go up to them. Literally just put your hand on your heart, like nod. It is no words, but it means the world.
Yeah, that's honestly a really nice gesture, even just like picturing that happening. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Another thing, what not to do, is do not share publicly any type of... You're not the journalist here. You are not the journalist. You should not, under any circumstance, be spreading the information of the death without the family's consent publicly. I think it's so damaging in a million ways. And if they're not ready to publicly talk about it on Facebook or whatever the platform may be, you need explicit consent from the family. And there's a specific way the family wants to do it, and that's the most important. Yeah,
that needs to be respected, that's for sure. And if you see that the family is not posting or anything, then you should not be the first person to be doing that.
If the immediate family hasn't posted or hasn't publicly gone and said something, I really strongly believe that the family will give the cue. If you post a story or if you post a post, a memorial post, it's only maybe a couple of days in, maybe weeks in, the family's not ready to see it, the family wasn't ready to announce it. Very damaging to the psyche. If you do want to do that, consent. You gotta ask consent. You just say, can I post this? If you're thinking, oh, I don't want to ask, maybe that's a sign that you shouldn't post it yet.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to text them, oh, can I post this? Because it's like maybe a couple of days and you're like, maybe I'm not ready. That's your sign to not post it yet.
Right. Completely agree with that. And obviously every situation's different. Like for me, it's kind of crazy to say, but I was posting like literally the next day.
It's not crazy to say. That's just your journey. And that's literally totally fine.
Yeah, and it's just like, everybody's different, and if you see that family specifically is not posting or anything, then just respect their space to grieve in silence before you go and spread that news to the whole world.
Absolutely. They deserve, privacy. And I wasn't ready to publicly announce on Facebook that my mom was dead. If it were up to me, I would have waited 2 weeks. But that was something that was out of my hands, unfortunately. Mm-hmm. As in my whole family, it was out of our hands. because certain people just took initiative, and it was extremely hurtful.
Yeah.
You know, there's things that just make everything harder, and that's one of those things.
So just be mindful of those things. And then another thing is, if you think that you have something to say that will help them, you just have to ask consent. Again, it goes back to asking for consent. Don't try to fix a situation. Don't try to offer any solutions.
Yeah.
Don't try to like put in your 2 cents and be like, well, you know, this is what I think, because you're not in that position, and it really doesn't matter what you think, to be honest.
Totally. Like I said in the beginning, just sit and listen. Do not try to fix. Do not offer advice. Just steer clear from giving your opinion, because a lot of the times it just seems like a comparison, and we never want to hear a comparison.
Yeah.
And even if you think somebody you know, or even maybe you went through something really similar and you want to compare it, that's okay. But again, you have to ask. Say, I went through something similar, and if you're willing and wanting to hear it, like I would love to share. That is totally perfectly fine. But like to just start spewing advice or, again, silver linings at people, maybe something that you learned, and to be spewing it immediately is just not something that they want to hear.
Yeah, especially like fresh after the loss. Like, it's just not, we don't need the silver lining. We just need sorries and like, I'm here for you. That's it.
Not to mention, like, there is nothing that you could say. Nothing that you could say. I don't care what it is. There's nothing you could say that's going to make me feel better. There's nothing to fix. There's nothing that you could do to help me be not sad at the end of the day. So offering solutions is just completely counterproductive, because there is no solution to this.
Unless they're asking for it, you know.
Of course.
They're looking
If they,
to you and
oh my
they're
God.
asking for advice and solutions,
Of
then
course.
obviously this is a different situation. This is just for when someone comes to you and they didn't ask you, they're just opening up, like, that should not be your first response, is what we're just trying to say.
Definitely. Oh, yeah. Definitely don't erase them from the stories. I've had some experiences where someone's telling a story from the past and my mom was there, but instead of including her in it, and it might be a little like sorrowful, they just completely took her out of the story. And it was so obvious, and it was so much more awkward because they blatantly took her out because they were fearful of bringing it up, which I completely understand. But it was like, damn, we're just erasing her now from the past.
Yeah, that's just, I don't understand why anyone would do that.
Yeah. And that also leads into don't compare. I actually just talked about that. Don't compare. Don't say, oh, I know how you feel. Because, again, maybe you went through something similar, but I guarantee you everyone's is different. So no, I know what you feel is not good. It's really not. And don't compare your worst thing to their worst thing. Like, for instance, let's say I'm talking to Yako, and Yako tells me that her dad died of cancer. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I know somebody who died of that. And, yeah, I know how you feel. Like, my parents got divorced. That was, like, the worst thing that's ever happened to me.
Yeah, that someone actually...
My dog died of cancer. I'm like, what? Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
My dog also has
It's
cancer.
easy to do sometimes, because when somebody's being vulnerable with you, you want to reciprocate that, right? Or you try and relate to them in that way. But a lot of times it's hurtful, so just don't.
Yeah.
I know that it's coming from a good place, because you're literally trying to relate to them. You're like, oh, you're hurting? Oh, I've hurt too before. But a lot of times it comes off like I just said. Oh, your dad died of cancer? Oh, my dog died of cancer too. Like something similar. Your worst thing versus my worst thing. It tends to look like it's trying to go head to head instead of empathizing.
Yeah. And then also, the I know how you feel definitely comes across differently when you're talking to another griever. I feel like that can be something you can say, because you do know how it feels to like lose a parent. If you do know how it feels to lose a parent, then you do know how it feels, like, you know. But yeah, just being like comparing my situation to losing your dog, or the divorce thing, like you said, that was actually someone messaged us saying that was something someone said.
If you listen to the end of the episode, you will hear all the things that people wrote into us, and they could be pretty outrageous. So there is a right way to offer your experience, like you were just saying. It's different when you hear it from another griever. So there is a right way to offer your experience. And like I said before, like you have to ask, be like, oh, I've actually went through something really similar. And like, I'd love to talk about it if you're willing to hear that right now. And maybe it seems like a little overzealous to be like, oh, gotta ask for consent. But, like, it's so worth it because you're not bombarding them with shit that they don't want to hear.
Mm-hmm. And you can clearly tell when they don't want to hear it because they'll just be like, like, not interested in the conversation at all. And it's not really personal. It's just that everything in that conversation might, one, be something they've heard millions of times before, and, like, it's just tiring. And two, it's just, like, you clearly don't understand the depth of my pain if you're comparing my loss to a divorce or you losing your dog.
So there's no such thing as being able to take somebody out of their grief, right? So using statements like the at least statements and what we just talked about, like, it's very minimizing. So you need to avoid minimizing their grief. And when you compare and when you use at least statements, it minimizes the other person's grief. That also goes into what we already talked about, toxic positivity. There's no silver lining. The movies make it seem like there is, but there's not. And everyone, I feel like, needs to just understand that life is life, and there does not have to be a silver lining around everything.
Mm-hmm. Like, sometimes it's just dark. And also, like, we just want, like we said it before, like, grief is both good and bad, and there's positive things that come from grief and terrible things that come with grief. Like, I can sit here and be like, oh, I'm really grateful for the moments that I should have cherished a little bit more with my dad, but now there's this terrible reality of a future I won't have, and they're both just as much as a reality as, they're both just as much of my reality, so to acknowledge both is just the only way to heal.
Definitely. Another big no, which we're going to transition now into the what to do, but the last one is going to be something that is not necessarily our experience, but somebody did write in saying, never call a deceased significant other an ex, because they did not choose to be not in a relationship with them anymore. And that could be really hurtful, and I can understand why that could be hurtful.
Yeah.
But yeah, guys, overall, again, if you're hearing this and you're like, oh shit, I think I've said something like this, it's fine. Because trust me, everyone knows that it's coming from a good place. And if you're, like, sweating right now listening to this and you're like, oh God, I'm literally like, please don't. We're just saying that these things are what everyone hears. And a lot of the times it's just counterproductive. And now we really, really want to get to the good part, which is helping you what to say instead. And it's actually easier than you think it is.
Yeah.
And honestly, it's easier to remember all the bad things people said to you and all the things that hurt you. It's harder to try and figure out what to do. What should they say?
Yeah.
And honestly, while we were sitting writing this episode, it's like we had a long list of what not to do, but we had a shorter list of what to do. And that's just because everyone is different. Everyone is going to want different things depending on how the death occurred and whatnot. But it's harder because everyone is different, and there's not going to be one right thing. There's not, like, direct right things to say, because at the end of the day, like I said, there's not a way to take away the pain, but there is good and respectful ways to do it, and that's what I really want to get into.
Yes.
So, number one, listen. Just listen. Listen instead of offering advice. Validate. Even if you're in your head being like, oh God, this isn't looking good for them, or oh, maybe you're thinking in your back of your head like, oof, I would do it differently. Just sit and listen.
Just let them
because
do
you
it.
know, if you're not in their shoes, then you really can't offer anything other than sitting and listening.
Yeah.
And by being open and bringing up the person that died and being really vulnerable with your friend, that is going to open the doors for you to be a good listener.
Yeah, and it'll allow them to feel comfortable talking about them in front of you, and it's just the best to feel safe to be able to do that.
Absolutely. If you want your friend to engage in a vulnerable conversation, all you have to do is bring up the person or bring up, the situation. You got to bring it up. And like I said before, it doesn't have to be explicit. It could literally just be like, so how are you doing really? And a lot of the times, guys, these conversations occur in person or over the phone. Through text, a lot of that vulnerability gets lost. So if you want to be that friend, and if you want to be the person who steps up really to have the real conversations with your friends and knowing it's not going to be pretty, that is exactly the way to do it. Talk to them, talk about the person, share a memory, and that will just open their hearts, and they'll see you as the friend thinking, okay, this is a person that I feel safe with.
Exactly. And also sharing a memory that maybe they didn't know or maybe they had forgotten about is just so beautiful and so special, and it really means so much. So
everyone who reached out to me, I pretty much was like, thank you for reaching out. Honestly, if you have anything to share, I want to hear it, no matter who you are. Because other people have spent time with my mom over everyone who knew me, all my past friends, all my current friends. Well, maybe not all of my current friends because Yako never met my mom. But, you know, there's just people in my life that have spent time with her. And, like, my friend from high school, like, she shares all these memories. And I'm like, holy shit, dude, I would have never remembered that. Thank you so much for sharing that. Because I'm just, like, seeing my mom in a different light. And I sometimes get a little nervous that I'm forgetting things, and I'll have, like, a breakdown because I'm like, I'm already forgetting things. I haven't been with her for a year, and I already can't remember this and that. And other people telling you stories of direct things that happened just opens your heart so much.
Yeah, I honestly wish I did that because it would have been, like, a great way for me to follow up, like, these people giving condolences and just, like, just connecting with them about it a little bit more.
Mm-hmm. I think that also goes into, it's not too late for you to do that. Because guess what? People should still be checking in for you.
I just need to take a little break. I'm feeling a little overwhelmed.
We can stop.
No, we don't have to stop. I'm just like, I just need to wipe these tears.
Are you okay?
Yeah.
What are you feeling?
I don't know. I'm just feeling like sad.
Yeah. This is really hard, guys, to talk about, honestly, because we've been through a lot of hurtful shit this past year. And just real talk, like, sitting down every week to film this and talk about it is so fucking hard.
It is. And also, I just want to say, like, again, we're not coming here to, like, deter you from reaching out to a friend and, like, scare you into thinking that you're doing everything wrong, you know? It's just, we're just trying to get you to be aware of how these things can be hurtful, even if you don't intend it to be, you know?
It's so hard to be that person. And I know this because before my mom died, and if this happened to somebody of my friends, I would not know what the fuck to do. And that's literally why we're doing this right now. It's hard to sit down and write all the horrible things that made us feel horrible. Yeah. It's really hard. And then it's even harder to sit in front of a camera and mics and talk about it.
Yeah.
And, like, we do not hold anger or resentment toward these people because, honestly, we just don't have room for it. With all the grief, we don't have room for anger and resentment towards other people.
Exactly. And
we're genuinely just doing this because we want to help the non-grievers understand. And the hurt that we went through from people's behaviors and the things that they say, we're trying to avoid that happening to future people.
Exactly. Even though it probably will continue.
Okay, maybe just at a lower level.
Yeah.
But it's not too late for you to get those memories because, honestly, people should still be checking in on you. Your 1-year anniversary is coming up, and when I had my 1-year anniversary come up, I expected my phone to be flooded, and it was a little disappointing. But the people who did remember and the people who did reach out, you can still ask those people for your memories.
Yeah.
And I hope that you guys listening know that depending on how close you are with this person, you can check in weekly. I had people check in weekly with me. I had people check in monthly-ish. I had people check in maybe a couple times out of the year. And every single one of those people I was grateful for because I had people flooding my phone. Oh my God. I had Do Not Disturb on for months because it was everyone who you've ever known is finding out and then they're texting you. And of course, I was appreciative of that because you feel flooded with love and support. But after a couple weeks, depending, it goes away.
Yeah.
And what stays is the people who are continually texting you and continually sending you stuff, you know? I had flowers at my house. My house had like 10 bouquets of flowers and an edible arrangement. And after a week and a half, those flowers are thrown out because they're bad, and the edible arrangement is gone, and I never hear from anyone again, basically.
Yeah.
And this just goes to show that you really have to continue checking in. The pain isn't just in the beginning. That's just the initial shock. Then the pain sets in, and it sets in for the rest of your life. And it will fluctuate, it will go in and out. But you just, a simple, I love you and I'm still thinking about you a couple months later, a year later, 2 years later. Like, just acknowledging that it didn't go away.
Exactly. So yeah, that's one of our things, is keep checking in consistently. Just, yeah, even though we said, don't say how are you can hit different. It can be fine if it's not right after the loss, because the obvious answer is no, I'm not okay, I'm not doing it right.
I think how are you is hard because how are you from the right person will open the flood doors and you'll be able to hear it. But if it's like a how are you from someone who I maybe am not comfortable sharing with or I don't know super well, I'm going to give them like a vague answer, and the how are you really wasn't that helpful.
Exactly. Yeah.
But again, I appreciate that somebody's at least thinking about me and thinking about me hard enough to want to hear from me.
Yeah.
So aside from those things, the bottom line is really just listen and be vulnerable and be a good friend. And some tangible things you could do, which, like I mentioned a little bit before, somebody gave my house some like dishes, like some tamales and some casseroles and like all this stuff. We had food, amazing, because I was not particularly hungry, but when I was, I didn't have to think about it. I just microwaved it and it was fine.
Yeah. Like after my dad died, people were like bringing food for us to eat, and that was really nice because we were eating it and we weren't eating a lot, so it was really nice.
Totally. You can come to my house and clean my house, maybe. These obviously just depend on how close you are to the person. If maybe you're their neighbor, maybe you'll just drop something off, ring their doorbell, and run away. Send a note, whatever it is. But if you're like their really close friend, there's other things you could do if you feel comfortable. Like if my best friend comes and does my laundry or cleans my room or, cooks me my favorite meal, brings some cookies over.
Yeah.
What else is there? If you're really close, there's a lot of things to do. You have to call banks and cancel their credit cards, cancel their bank. You have to call funeral homes and get quotes.
Mailing address. You have to do all these other things.
Mm-hmm. There's
the after death stuff.
Yeah.
That no one wants to talk about. Yeah, it takes a lot of. Someone's doing it.
Yeah. Somebody's got to do it.
Planning a funeral. Mm-hmm. Someone is calling all the relatives, letting them know when to come, and all these things. And you could help do that if you're close enough, or if you feel like you're in a position to be able to do that. So
absolutely. I know this happened to you. Some of your friends offered to book a flight and just come be with you when you got home.
Yeah, that was really nice. But obviously ask consent, because sometimes they are not in the place to host another person. And even though you're like, don't worry about it, I'm just going to have to be there to help you, like they're still hosting you, and it still comes with that pressure of having someone else in your house. So definitely ask consent to see if they're in a place where you can be with another person and like host and take care of someone. Yeah.
It's a really nice thought to, instead of sending these or doing that and all these things, like just go be with them. It's a really nice thought.
Ass over here.
Yeah, like that is a great thing. Of course you have to ask consent first, because sometimes they're just not ready for it. I had a couple people also, of course, ask me, and I did not take them up on their offer, but I do really appreciate that they did say that.
Yeah.
I just was not in the right place to kind of have somebody there that wasn't my immediate family. But again, don't do that without asking consent.
Reaching out when that person's in town. Like, I know I'm from New York and I have a lot of friends that are in New York, so when I'm in town, some people will reach out to me and be like, oh, you're in town, like, let's hang out. And that really means a lot. It means that you care about me, that you still want to see me, and that you're thinking of me. And I just really appreciated that. And like the July I went home to New York after losing my dad, like I saw like literally so many people that I haven't seen in even like 4 or 5 years, and it was just really nice to catch up and talk about my dad and just also get my mind off of it, you know, if you're ready to do that. And it was really nice to see these like familiar
That's
faces.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Of course I want to hear from you. And another thing that one of my friends did is they came over when I wasn't home and like decorated my house for Christmas because my mom died 2 weeks
That's
before
so
Christmas.
sweet. That
It
is
was just so great to come home to that.
And also,
it was like so homey.
It's nice because the first holiday season is like tough, especially that is the month that you lost your mom.
Yeah.
So that all being in the same month is just like a terrible thing. And that really helps like ease the pressure of like you having to like do that yourself, because oh my god, that is so depressing to like fucking set up these like ornaments like all alone, like you have like your fucking, I don't know.
Totally.
You know the vibes.
I also got, like I mentioned, that box, the personalized gift box was amazing. When my cousin sent me and my sister some like Lush bath bombs, and I literally still have the scrub. Like I literally use it, and every time I look at it, I remember my cousin who sent that to me, and it's just like very special because it's like there's they know that maybe we don't need more flowers. Like this Lush, hell yeah, I'm always down for a Lush.
Yeah.
Some magazines, like whatever it is. Oh yeah, well, somebody made us socks, like hand woven socks. I was like, so oh my gosh, I still wear this. Year later, I love those socks.
Yeah, the nicest thing for me, I think, that happened was just like, I was in Japan for a month, so during that time, I just got a lot of meals cooked for me, and like people. There was this guy who like took me and my sister to go drive in Hakone, and we like went up to like Mount Fuji, and it was like really gorgeous. Yeah, that was really sweet. I really liked that. Yeah, I mean, it was just a nice way to get your mind off of it, even for a little bit. Even though when you are seeing something gorgeous, you're just like, it's like bittersweet because you're like, oh, I wish they could have fucking seen this, but it was nice overall.
Absolutely.
It's a thought that counts.
Of course. Just some last things maybe you could offer. Maybe if they need some financial help, start a GoFundMe. That is an amazing thing to offer.
Yeah.
Maybe they need a babysitter to take care of their kids. Maybe they don't feel like going outside and walking their dogs.
Yeah.
It could be so many things, guys. Somebody wrote in something that was so special, and when we did a poll on our Instagram, they said that they have friends and people in their lives that have reminders and on the dates on their phone.
Yeah.
So
like
they
for their
send
mom's birthday.
Yeah. For their mom's birthday, not even the anniversary. That is so special, you guys. That is just like one of those things that you take like that small extra step, and it is the most meaningful thing in the world.
Exactly. It's like the smallest thing you could do, but it is so meaningful.
So thoughtful.
One, you care enough to remember. I mean, yeah, one, you care enough to remember, and then two, you're reaching out, and it's just nice. It's just really nice.
Yeah, of course. I would absolutely love it if somebody texted me on like the dates and had a reminder. That would just be so special.
Right.
And that pretty much is the things that we brainstorm. That's not to say that that's it.
Yeah.
But those are just the things that maybe we experience, and then some people said that was really special for them, that somebody did that for them. On the other hand, now we can have some laughs because we did a poll on our Instagram, and I just wanted to know the most outrageous things people say. And, it's awkward. People don't know what to say. And now we can laugh about it.
Yeah, and these are not just, like, the worst. These are just, like, the absolute worst things you could say. Like, this is not just, how are you getting taken the wrong way, or, like, I can't imagine. Like, this is just straight up no. Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
These are some of our experiences, but also some, like I said, people wrote these in. So these are just some mentionables. It's pretty shocking, and they're insensitive, but we are going to have some laughs now because I think we deserve it after all that. Somebody said...
This is a funny one. I have to say this one. Someone fucking said to me, they had to, like, make up a lie for, like, school or something. Like, they just had to make up a lie. And they were like, I have to make up, like, a crazy lie. I have to make up a lie, like, my my dad died or something. Like,
Oh
they
my
straight
God.
up looked me in the eyes and said this to my face, or it was over FaceTime.
What are you thinking?
Why?
mate?
Like, just,
What are you
just
thinking?
please think for like 2 seconds before saying it.
Yeah, like literally 2 seconds of thought, and you'd be like, "Ooh, maybe I shouldn't say that." Her dad just
Literally, that was the first lie that came to your mind. Is that?
yeah, like that's so awkward.
Oh my
Jesus.
god. Ugh. It was Anyway.
Yeah. Some people, I had a lot of people be like, "Oh my God, that's literally my worst fear. Like, I would die if that happened to me." I'm like, well, damn, it's my worst fucking fear too, and it came true. So, like, fucking, are you serious?
Yeah. I would die if that happened to me. Like, I don't know if this is
It's
just
so
like
insensitive. Think about what you're saying.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it is my worst nightmare, and it came true. Like, yeah, I know. You're really just glad you're not me right now, huh?
Yeah.
Another thing somebody said to me is like, oh, ever since like I heard the news, I've just been living life to the fullest. Like I just been realizing that life is so short, and I just been embracing every moment. I'm like, wow, good for you.
I mean, that is like something that is.
Okay, this is a personal story, so this is not going to be towards everyone.
Yeah.
But to me, when somebody said that to me, I was like, okay, good for you. I'm glad that my mom's death made you have a funner and more, present life in your day and whatever. Like, I was like, okay, good for you. It was not nice to hear. And I was like, okay, well, I'm sitting here suffering, and you learned a great lesson, and you get to have your mom still, so good. 2 thumbs up for you.
Yeah.
But also, it felt like a slap in the face.
Yeah, it is. It's just like not need to be said. You could be thinking it, but if that person's like not thinking that, then don't say it. Also, though, a lot of people do come and say like that grief makes them like fucking grab life by its balls and just like fucking like just like do everything they ever wanted to do, but it's just.
Which could be true, but like maybe
true,
later.
It's just harder. It's
not in the
easier
beginning.
no, it's harder. It's easy. Yeah, it's easier said than done. Yeah, it's easier said than done. And also, what is it? We fucking saw this podcast that was like, oh, my dad died, and then it propelled me into becoming this great entrepreneur. Like, it served as motivation for me to like do everything I ever wanted in life, and that's great. But that's just the death to entrepreneur pipeline is just not the reality for most people.
Exactly. Like if you became an entrepreneur, successful, like from your person dying, like I'm really happy for you, but please do not push that on everyone else.
Yeah. Exactly.
Here's something that somebody wrote in. Somebody said, "You're still sad about that?" Why would you say that? You still haven't gotten rid of their clothes?
Please, why would I want to get rid of their
like
clothes?
What? What do you mean you still haven't?
Or
just the opposite.
Yeah, which is you've bounced back so fast, or you seem like you're living your. Oh, someone said to me, "You seem like you're living your best life." Okay. Really, I'm trying.
Yeah, I'm living my best life right now.
I'm really trying my hardest though, like every day,
Yeah.
And then also, what is it? Another thing that someone wrote was, oh my god, if only they had died sooner, you could have written a really good college essay about it. Okay, that's like something that only we can joke about. Like, the person themselves can make that joke, but you can't fucking make that joke. Mm-mm. You can't.
Absolutely
no.
not.
What gives you the right?
No, it's not funny.
You have to
Dead
your trauma
people
fucking
joke.
legs to joke about it.
Dead people joke is only funny when the person who went through it is joking about it, because when you say it, it's just awkward as fuck.
Yeah, it's just not. Yeah,
it's really not it.
Not a good look for you. And then another one.
Oh, everyone goes through shit.
Oh yeah, like okay, like everyone goes through shit,
yeah,
but
thanks.
not. Yeah, like, it doesn't mean that it's not easy. It's easy. Everyone goes through shit, and that's sucks for everybody. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the only conclusion. Also, someone said to a grieving wife who just lost her husband, like, you can't raise your son to be a man without the father here. What kind of fucked up thing is that to say to someone who's trying to...
You are an asshole.
Yeah, that is straight up just vile, not something you should say.
And I haven't said that throughout this whole podcast because I don't believe it, but right now I do. Yeah. Why the fuck would you say that? Fucking asshole.
Yeah,
that's like, oh, you can get married soon, like, you need to find a father, like, oh yeah, people wrote that in too, like, when they're at their literal spouse's or significant other's funeral, and then somebody starts mentioning like them getting back out there, getting on Tinder and shit.
Like, please don't talk about getting me married or me finding someone else at my fucking wife's
That's so
or
out of
person's
pocket.
funeral.
That ties into don't give your opinion.
Yeah. Also, another thing that someone said to me that I have to mention is just, I can't keep up with your emotions, or it doesn't seem like you started processing. How would you know?
Yeah, what are you talking about?
And then also I can't keep up is just so invalidating. Like, I never want to open up to you ever again.
That is so hurtful. It's literally like, get your trauma, crying, grieving ass out of here. I don't want to be with that because I don't know what to do with that. That's literally what that person's saying.
Yeah, so those are just things that you absolutely should not fucking say.
Of course
not.
not.
My god, this one's funny. Any type of flirting, using the death as an excuse to hit that person up as a pickup line.
Yo! Damn, I'm so sorry to hear about your mom.
You're cute though, like, please.
No, like, someone wrote, oh, I'm so sorry to hear about your mom. And they're like, oh, yeah, thanks. Like, I appreciate it. And they're like, so how you been?
Yeah.
Like, are you serious?
Yeah.
Oh, I do want to say one more thing. I skimmed over it, but the juxtaposition of giving your opinion is sometimes two completely different things. So it could be, oh, you still haven't got rid of their clothes, or you're still wearing your wedding ring, or something like that. But it could be the opposite too, like, oh, what's the opposite of that?
You're not
wearing your ring? Wow, it's only been 1 month. Or you got rid of their clothes already? It's like, it could be both sides from that.
Just
bottom line, don't give your opinion. It doesn't matter. Yeah. Whatever they're doing is the right thing. And that's what Megan Devine says. Love you, Megan.
I know. We mention Megan Devine all the time, and she's just great.
Yes. But she says that. She's like, there is no wrong way to grieve. So that's another reason why you shouldn't give your opinion to people. But the flirting thing, now that's really something. You are bold. You're like, rip your mom, so how you been, though? How you
That's so fucking cringe. That is
interesting.
So cringe. Please, just don't do that. Don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, somebody wrote in, you're gonna be so much stronger because of this.
Yeah, like, I really didn't want to be stronger. Like,
I actually feel weaker now because of this.
Yeah, but it's like, we don't need to hear that, please. Also, that initially after a loss to say to someone said that
somebody wrote in.
Someone wrote in that someone said to them that feeling will never go away. How uncomforting is that?
Great.
Like how shitty you feel right now, you're gonna feel that way forever. Like, all right, bitch. I
can't wait to feel like that for the rest of my life.
Fucking the day after my fucking loss. Like, please, I will deal with that when I fucking deal with that. Right now, I don't need you to tell me that it's not gonna go away because I fucking know.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that is concluding all the shit.
Yeah.
I really hope that you guys stayed to the end, and if you did, thank you so much.
Yes.
I hope you got some giggles, but I also I hope you got some giggles, but I also hope that you learned something.
Yeah.
And maybe go text your friend right now and be like, dude, I love you, and maybe say all the things that you never got to say. And like I said, it's never too late.
It's never too late.
Absolutely. So on our Instagram at Grief Uncensored Podcast, we're going to be releasing some do's and don'ts list this week, and also some templates that you can text your friend that are better than the things that we mentioned not to do. So we really hope that you can send them to your friend that maybe you need help from, or if you are the friend, these are specific templates that you can use to talk to your friend in a way that is much better than the things we mentioned. So not only did we just mention the bad things or what not to do, we are really wanting to help change what people do and how people are treating the grievers.
Yep.
So, yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Thank you guys
for this episode. Thank you for listening if you're here still, and we'll see you guys next week.
Bye, guys.